saw me laying under palm trees, waiting for the summer, knowing there's nowhere to go. 'Cause I am happy on this island, wanna be my funland. I don't ever want to leave, I'm in a tropic club. I'm in a tropic club. All the memories and all the days we've spent together. You feel it's over soon. Too many risks to take. Just let us see what we'll be finding.
Your light is true, shining and chrome.
Okay. I forgot I saw the alerts on, so those are probably gonna keep interrupting, which is fine. They're funny. All right, so welcome to another movie review stream. My name is Mark McPherson, film critic for filminquiry.com, movieswithmark.com, and twincitiesgeek.com. So on today's stream, we're going to be reviewing 3 new movies. One was released last weekend, one's coming out this weekend, and the other was released almost a month ago. I think actually it was, just about a month ago. So yeah, we'll be reviewing, of course, Creed 3, the third film in the Rocky spin-off series of Creed. We'll be reviewing Cocaine Bear, the wild true story of a bear that got on cocaine and, spoilers, killed a lot of people. And, well, partially true. And then we'll get to Skinamarink, the micro-budget horror film that should not be missed. And I'm kind of punching myself for not covering it sooner because I really, really love that film. But we'll get to that in the stream here. So let me get the credits up here. And while I'm loading up the credits, just to let you all know that I have a Patreon, which is not just for the videos here, but also for my movie books, which I'm writing. Right now I'm writing a book on Saturday morning cartoons. If you subscribe on like Patreon on any tier, you can read every entry as I finish them as they go up there. I think most recently I believe I finished writing about Alvin and the Chipmunks, the entire legacy of that. And next I'm moving on to Top Cat. So I'm working my way through the 60s in that. And just a reminder, you can read all the reviews that I do here on movieswithmark.com, filminquiry.com, twincitiesgeek.com. There are other places, but those are the primary places. Those are my main stomping grounds, you know? Okay. So let's get to, of course, the big film coming out this weekend, Creed 3. So let me get up my notes here. Make sure I got it all set up. Okay. I think, all my notes here. There we are. Yep. Okay. And ready for the Creed 3 review in 3, 2, 1. So Creed 3 is the third film in the Creed saga that spun off from Rocky. And I think the one thing that I think I love about Creed 3 the most is that it's the one film that doesn't feel like it's just, trying to play off more of the Rocky legacy. It always feels like, when you have these sort of like torch passing films, these kind of like soft reboots where they're bringing back old characters but want to stress new ones. They always feel like they're not quite willing to let go. Like it's supposed to be like a torch passing thing, but it's like, okay, cool, pass me the torch. Okay, let go. Let go. You need to let go and let me do my own thing with it. And Creed 3 is very much that, for a number of reasons. Number one is because, I don't know how much spoiler this is, but Rocky is not present in this film. This is the first Creed film where we don't get Sylvester Stallone returning to the role of Rocky. We don't get much mention of Rocky's legacy. We do briefly touch on Apollo, but not a whole lot. It's mostly feels like this is fully Adonis Creed's story entirely. It doesn't feel like he's trying to match up or trying to like fight more old characters from the past. It feels like an entirely new and contained boxing sports drama where the word Rocky doesn't even like come up in this film. It's entirely Creed's film. So Michael B. Jordan returns to the role of Adonis Creed, and a lot of time has passed. You might remember that Creed 2 was, 2018, I believe. It was a long time ago. And of course, like in that time, Adonis has grown up a bit. He's settled down. He's married Bianca, reprised by Tessa Thompson. He has a daughter now who, he communicates like she's deaf, so they communicate through sign language. He has a nice life. He runs a gym. He runs talent, and he's kind of more of like a coach and a behind the scenes type of guy. And so he's become like much older, and he's trying to like think about what do I want to do next with my life. But at the same time, he's also still haunted by his past. We get to see a lot more of like his younger days, and an old acquaintance of his by the name of Dame, or like Damian Anderson, I believe, his boxing name is like Dane, and he's played by Jonathan Majors, who is just like if you've seen like Jonathan Majors, he's playing Kang in Ant-Man Quantumania, and he has a presence to him. He has this fierce, dominating, intimidating presence to him, where if you wanted to choose someone to get in the ring with Michael B. Jordan for this film, like Majors is so perfect for this type of role. So Majors comes back. Dame comes back into Adonis's life, after he's just gotten out of prison, where he feels like Adonis was partially responsible because he shoved that life aside and wants to try to like redeem himself. So Adonis, feeling guilty about, having left his friend behind, decides to give him another shot and let him try out for some boxing. The problem is that Dame is too good at boxing, like aggressive and violent, and he's basically a bully. And they drop all pretense of him, trying to, he's become fully bitter through Adonis kind of just shoving him off to the side for all these years, that he's not just about revenge. He's about taking it out on everyone and making his dreams come true of becoming a title champ and letting that be his entire personality. They show him early on where that was kind of his dream, and here he is, he's achieved that dream, and he's just the worst. He's just insulting and spiteful and violent and aggressive. So he's the perfect he's the perfect opponent for Creed, because there's more on the line than just, defending his title, which he does, and bring him out of retirement, which he does. But it's a battle of these two and their friendship. And the thing is, for this, I love the fact first that this type of film it's very nonlinear. Like we get like bits and pieces of Creed's past that are interspersed throughout. So we never get like the full story of his connection with Dame and, you know, his troubled childhood. It kind of like slowly comes into the picture. I guess like my biggest problem I think with the film is that I think it sets up a lot of mini arcs that don't quite pay off, specifically with Bianca and Creed's daughter, Amara. They have interesting little mini arcs. Like Bianca is also kind of retired, you know, like kind of more off, not quite retired, but kind of like off to the scenes. Like she loves to record music, and now she's kind of off to the side as a producer. Amara is having problems in school with bullying, and both Creed and Bianca are conflicted about, you know, should she learn to fight, and, you know, what's the point of her learning to fight. And I kind of wish that those arcs paid off a little bit more, but they all just kind of feel like little stepping stones to get Adonis up to like the next point where he finally has to confront Dame, which is fine. It's just like I felt like there was more to explore there, and it kind of, you know, at least on the surface, it looks like it's kind of spinning its wheels in its first act, just trying to find stuff for Adonis to do. But I had to say, though, like, there were some surprises here. Like, from what I described, like, it seems like Creed 3 is a pretty, like, simple film. You know, like, you know, Creed feels guilty about Dame, builds him up as a title fighter. He gets too much power, he takes over, and Creed has to knock him down. Pretty standard stuff. We even get a lot of the standard tropes of this type of film. We get of course the training montage where Creed's running and he's pulling planes and he's lifting stuff and he's gritting his teeth and he's getting back up when he thinks he can't go any further, and triumphant music plays. Same deal as Creed 2. What I will say is that by the time it got to the climax, like, and the fight scenes, to the film's credit, they're still well shot. They're amazingly shot, in fact, I liked it a lot more than Creed 2 in the way that it was framed. And I think a lot of that has to do with Michael B. Jordan taking over as director here. And for anime fans, this is great because Michael B. Jordan has stressed that a lot of his bigger influences for this was, you know, looking at fights in like Naruto and Dragon Ball Z. And if you look closely, you can see a little bit of that influence in the way that he frames shots and how he finds just the right moments to slow down and show you the body blows and show you, you know, the pain, you know, on his face when he gets like punched in the gut really hard. There's a lot of great shots like that. But what really surprised me is that during the climax, there's a beautiful, like, it's just the best way I can describe it is beautiful. There's a great moment where just like, in order to stress that this is like a more kind of like personal fight, the entire arena just kind of like just fades out and it's just empty. And you're just watching just Michael B. Jordan and Jonathan Majors in the ring slamming at each other, just growling at each other in front of like an empty ring in darkness. And then occasionally like jail bars will be on like the sides of the ring to kind of like stress, you know, what the history they had was and what they're fighting about, and just the narrow vision that they've been locked in with like their rivalry. And it's so great. Like it's kind of like placed right in the middle to kind of like, you know, kind of like bridge the gap, just so you don't get tired of like watching round after round after round of them like slamming on each other and like, you know, watching them wear each other down. I feel like if you know, like if you didn't have that scene, like this film would just be like, you know, just be like a smash cut of just all the punches, and then they show up like, you know, round 5, round 6, round 7, and that'd be kind of boring. And I really appreciated the fact that there was this huge stylistic choice to kind of just shove everything out and just make kind of like a more like minimalist fight where you're not seeing like the spectacle of the stadium and like the commentators, everything just silence, and you're just watching these guys like beat down on each other. And it's so powerful to just see that, just especially because you're seeing these two actors just, you know, throw everything they have into these roles. Like I love Creed's like confliction about the past, like how he's a little bit standoffish, even despite the fact that like the the dialogue here is like it's pretty like surface level. Like characters speak pretty frankly about what they are, what they're feeling and what they need to address, and there's not as much ambiguity, which is kind of interesting because like the non-linear style of telling the story, I feel, has a lot more ambiguity, where they kind of like quietly address these moments here and there. I didn't even get to the mention of like Felicia Rashad back as Mary Ann Creed, who has a very emotional arc to her. I feel like she is kind of one of the more like conclusive arcs. I don't want to say like it's expanded upon, because I don't feel like it's as big as Bianca's or Amara's, but you do feel a lot more with it. And I will say this, there's probably maybe like one scene where Apollo is addressed by name, and it's in such the perfect scene. It's in one of the saddest moments in the film, and it kind of recognizes Apollo less as like a figure to live up to, but more as like, someone from the past that, you kind of like quietly learn from, and kind of like see how far this, to see how far Adonis has come with this, with his boxing career. And I gotta admit, it kind of won me over. Like, through like the first act, it was kind of going like bit by bit, and I kind of saw where it was going, and characters spoke very, very frankly. But after a while, it just, the way that it was the direction, I think, really won me over. That by the end, when you get to the climactic fight, even though there's a lot of cool fights that are exceptionally staged throughout the film, but by the time you get to the climax, I was entirely won over by the film. Especially, and I know I keep harping on this, but I love the fact that this is a film that can stand on its own. It's not like Creed 2, where it's got to like dust off another villain for, our hero to fight and, come to terms with Rocky's legacy and Apollo's legacy. No, this film is about Adonis Creed's legacy all his own, and he gets to dominate this film, which is a result of both just the screenplay here by Keaton Kugler and Zach Balin, but also Michael B. Jordan's direction, which just is so powerful in this film. So actually, in terms of like the other how it stacks up against the other Creed films, I still love the first Creed film the most, just because I think the writing is just so pitch perfect. I feel like it has the perfect balance of of drama and humor and the grit of like a boxing sports drama. Creed 2 is still my least favorite, just because it feels like it's trying way too hard to kind of like force in more of that Rocky legacy. But Creed 3 is kind of in the middle. Like I like it a lot more than Creed 2. I just feel like some of the writing didn't work for me. Not as much of it, and it's mostly just in the first act where it feels a little exposition heavy. But once it gets over those hurdles with setting everything up and establishing the stakes that Creed has for both his career and his friendship and his family, then the film really takes off, and that's when it really becomes a sports drama all its own. And that's what I love so much about Creed 3. So there you go. Creed 3 will be playing in theaters this Friday. Oh, and where will it be streaming? Let's see. It's being released through United Artists with Warner Brothers is handling international stuff, but okay, yeah. So no, but yeah, it's through Warner Brothers. Yeah, so like it'll probably be on HBO Max later this year, if you can't make it out to the theater and wanted to check it out. And I should know that too, because like HBO Max currently has Creed and Creed 2 up on there. So if you're excited to check out Creed 3, and I know a lot of people were at the preview screening, there were a lot of people looking forward to it. Go over to HBO Max and check out the first two films. I don't really like Creed 2, but I feel like just watch for Michael B. Jordan. It's definitely worth watching for the first Creed film. Okay. So, that's Creed 3 down. Now, let's talk about something fun. Okay. My most anticipated film of the year. Okay, here we go. And in 3, 2, 1. So, Cocaine Bear is a film all about a bear who does cocaine. And spoilers, he kills a lot of people. What am I saying? It's a female bear. Female 500-pound black bear does a lot of cocaine and kills a bunch of people. And if that's pretty much what I feel like that's what most people are looking forward to in this creature feature. It's just a bear comes and kills a bunch of people and does a lot of drugs, and it's silly and absurd. So on that basic level, sure, Cocaine Bear delivers. You can't be mad at it for what it delivers. But at the same time, I feel like it does just enough to be more than just like, kind of like the mindless, gory, violent entertainment that a lot of people are coming into this for. And I think here's the thing. For people who have seen the film, they're probably going to tell you this if you haven't heard already, but the thing is, Cocaine Bear is a movie all about family. I'm not joking. It's the whole film, through its many arcs of its different human characters, and even the bear herself, it's all about the connection between parents and children. And I know what you're thinking, like, wait, there's a theme to all this? Yes, there is. In addition to being based on a true story. So the true story is that in 1985, there was some coke smuggling going on, and a shipment through a plane had a mishap, and a drug smuggler died while transporting lots of cocaine. That cocaine fell out, and a bear consumed the cocaine. And I love the way that the film sets up this story, because it establishes like the truth of it. It's like it says like, hey, this is based on an actual true story, and then it shows you like the real news footage of like when the cocaine came down, to show off how like to show off like that this really happened. And then they show like anti-drug PSAs to put you in the right mood, and then they cite some facts about bears and how they will attack, but then playfully admit that like, yeah, we got this information from Wikipedia. So it's one of those films like it's a true story, but it's gonna like wink and have fun with it at the same time, because why wouldn't you? The story of a bear on cocaine that goes nuts and kills humans is a fun idea. But of course, like any good slasher film, it's only as fun as the victims and the characters that you set up throughout it. And thankfully, there's actually a really good human cast here. Like, for starters, you have Ray Liotta in one of his final roles, which the film does pay a tribute to. You have Ray Liotta playing the mafia guy who needs that cocaine, and so he sends off his son, played by Alden Ehrenreich. I believe I'm saying his name correctly. He played Han Solo in the Solo Star Wars movie. And one of his enforcers, played by O'Shea Jackson Jr., to go find the cocaine. And they're a mismatched pair. Alden plays Eddie, and O'Shea plays David, and they're a perfect mismatched pair. Like, Eddie is just a sad sack. He recently lost his wife, and he's not sure how to raise his son. So, like, he's a blubbering mess, and it's like you feel bad for him, but at the same time, you're kind of chuckling a little bit, just because, like, he's a mess, and like you want to see him succeed just because so much bad stuff has happened to him. And it plays off well with David, who is just a short-fused guy. He just got some great new clothes and doesn't want to get blood on them. And then spoilers, he does get a lot of blood on them with what follows. So they track down the cocaine to a national park where a bear has done the cocaine, and the bear is now tracking down like some children played by Brooklyn Prince and Christian Convery. They play Christian plays Henry and Brooklyn plays Dee Dee, and they're just a great batch of foul-mouthed kids. Like they play hooky from school. They're troublemakers. They pretend they know what drugs are. They attempt to do cocaine like they've done it before. They talk openly. They talk like surprisingly almost kind of like not quite like somewhere between like South Park and like Charlie Brown type characters, like kids who are knowing enough but still kind of like like dumb little kids. Where you're hoping that they'll pull through just so that you can hear what they have to say about this whole crazy situation. And then we have even more characters. We have Isaiah Woodcock Jr. playing a detective called Bob, who has unwittingly been given a dog he doesn't want to deal with. You have Kerry Russell stepping into the role of Sari. I believe that's not enough. But Kerry Russell is the mother of one of the children. She goes off looking for them. And of course, she's a concerned mother. Even though like they establish her as kind of a mother who's not quite present, she does snap into action once her children are in danger. She's also a nurse, which will come into play later in the film. And then, of course, we can't forget Margot Martindale as the feisty ranger who does take out her gun, and she does fire it a lot at both the bear and some punks who come into her park. Okay, so there's and she's at the same time while all this is happening, she's trying to hook up with a guy, maybe start a family of her own. So like I said, family elements all over the place here. It's like, you know, it's Fast and the Furious. It's a film about family. Okay, it's all about family. So of course, I'm sure what a lot of people want to know is like, okay, does this film have some cool kills, and does it have some gory, violent, over-the-top kills? And thankfully it does. I love the way that they set up the bear. I love the way that like the kills are diced up here. You have scenes where like where the bear, she's chewing up guts. You have scenes where she's lopping off limbs, she's clawing faces, she's biting people in like the ass. She's just growling, snarling, doing cocaine. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful and tongue in cheek, absurd for the way it's staged. In particular, I loved I think probably the one scene I laughed the most at was when like Margot Martindale is trapped in her ranger station with a bunch of punks, and the bear is just outside. Like you can hear it on the roof, you can see it's coming by the windows. You know, it's like it's stalking its prey, and Margot Martindale has just it's perfect comic timing for all this. Like at one point, she misses a shot and accidentally kills somebody and just kind of gives this half-hearted apology. Like not really caring because like she wanted to shoot the bear and doesn't give a crap about these punks who have come to like cause trouble in her station. So I laughed pretty hard during most of that scene. And then of course, like for a lot of people who've seen the trailer, there's that great scene where like the ambulance is called in and the bear's chasing after us. So you get a great chase scene and so many wonderful deaths here. A lot of unexpected and like brutal, like kind of like ooh, staring at the screen, like just like making you wince type of deaths that are fairly unexpected. Like there's a few moments where you can kind of see where it's going to happen. Like, okay, this is set up where like the bear is going to claw somebody from behind, or the bear is going to go up that tree and kill that guy. But there's so many other scenes where it's just like there's accidental deaths that you don't see coming. And I swear, like you would not believe how Ray Liotta dies in this. So yeah, just some quality kills and just like a solid theme of family that's fairly well set up. I will say this though, if you're not on board for just the absurdity of the concept of Cocaine Bear, you're probably not going to dig as much on the film for most of it. You'll probably like if you're going to take this film really seriously, you might get like one or two chuckles out of like the kills here and a few of the funny lines, but the thing is like most of the comedy here I feel is very much tongue in cheek, where, you know, it's not just characters trying for jokes. It's mostly just, you know, they set up these different types of characters, they kind of clash, and the humor kind of slowly comes with the territory here. And you kind of just got to laugh at the way that it's set up and the premise itself and the funny bits that they go for with it, which Elizabeth Banks, I think, does a wonderful job with this material. She finds just the right moments to evoke the comedy here, like just the right moments to make you care about the characters, and just enough, you know, just enough like gory bits here where like where the kills actually feel intense and exciting rather than just being like a constant bloodbath. Like it's just a very solid, well-made film in terms of being an absurdist kind of like an absurdist creature feature that has all the B movie qualities with kind of like an A-level team behind it. Just because everyone on the cast is firing well here. Like Margot Martindale, perfect comedic timing. Isaiah Whitcock Jr. always finds just the right way to deliver comedic lines. In fact, a lot of his lines are probably some of the funniest just on paper, and he sells them well. So it's like perfect casting on that front. Brooklyn Prince and Christian Convery have perfect mouths for these type of young characters, and Kerry Russell is really fun once she starts like snapping back. Like it takes a while for her, but she eventually finds her groove in this film, and she becomes a lot of fun to watch. Plus O'Shea Jackson Jr. is fun as just the angriest guy in the film, and Alden Ehreich as just a blubbering mess is such a sympathetic character. So yeah, like I doubt it would surprise many, but Cocaine Bear pretty much delivered on the fun type of horror comedy that I was expecting, and it's I don't quite want to say it's my favorite film of the year, but it's definitely up there right now. I had a lot of fun at Cocaine Bear, and I imagine that I would. So what can I say? It's fun. It's a fun film with a bear high on cocaine, and Margot Martindale gets scratched in the ass by a bear. What more could you want out of a movie? What more could you want? So Cocaine Bear is currently playing in theaters. It opened last Friday. I was actually going to cover it earlier, but due to a snowstorm, we didn't get a screener, so I had to go see it over the weekend. So let's see. It's through Universal Pictures, so you can probably count on seeing it on Peacock within a month. So if you can't make it out to the theater and you really want to see this film, because don't lie, I know the type of people who watch the stream. I know you want to go see this film. Go watch it on Peacock when you get a chance. Although I would say, like, if you can, go see it in a theater, because it's so much fun to see with a crowd and just hear all like the laughing and the wincing and the oohs and the ahs and all that. It's one of those. Like, I almost wish I would have saw the film late at night, just because it's such a perfect, like, kind of midnight movie to just hang out with friends and get drunk watching, It's a lot of fun. And we have one more horror film that we're going to review on the stream. That's right. When is it on Peacock? I don't know if they've announced it yet. I'm just, like, because it's Universal, it's probably going to end up on Peacock. I'm guessing just based on the fact that like Megan went from Peacock in about roughly like a little over a month, I would probably say just about like a month and a half it'll probably be on Peacock. I don't think it's that there's no mention yet about when it's going to be streaming on Peacock. And I imagine that there wouldn't be either, because like if it's a hit, like I'm sure Universal doesn't want to shove it up onto Peacock immediately. Like I think once it's got all of the money that it can, then Peacock would release it. I think Megan is actually a special case just because like they had an unrated version, which a lot of people want to go see. I'm not sure if there is an unrated version of Cocaine Bear, just because the violence is completely over the top. If there is, I would love to see it, and that'd probably be a good selling point for Peacock. In fact, based on how like Peacock does with like the R-rated cut of Megan, I wouldn't be surprised if just they whip up a director's cut of Cocaine Bear that maybe has like a minute's worth of extra footage, and it's like not even like gory footage, just like deleted scenes, just to sell people on it more. Just because Cocaine Bear is a lot of fun. I believe it actually did pretty well its first weekend in the box office. It's actually surprisingly well. About 32 million for its opening, which is pretty good. I think the budget is roughly 30 million, which is high for a horror film, but I think they knew they had something good here. Like usually it's a bad sign if you have a horror film that costs that much and then you shove it out in the theaters, because then like there's a higher chance that it won't make back its money, The American barely had anything to do. I figured like the unrated cut of Megan probably just has like the additional kills, like it's like what? Like, oh, you get to see like the paper shredder go through, you get to see more blood and guts, I imagine. And that's gotta be like what? Like a minute's worth of extra footage there? I can't imagine it's that much. So So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if they did the same with Cocaine Bear. Especially since it's doing so well. Like it's mostly made roughly it's made its budget back within one weekend, which is really good. Especially for like, I was a little bit worried though, because it's a horror film that's like $30 million, and that's, you know, for a horror film that's kind of a risk, because you expect horror films to be cheap, and then, you know, why did I turn that on? Thank you for the subscription, Mai Tai Ginger. Mai Tai Ginger, sorry. But yeah, like you would, I was worried, because if the film failed, then the Universal would be like, I don't know if we want to keep doing these horror films, even though they do seem to be all about it. I will say this though, I was pissed that I got to miss the press screening, because at all the press screenings for Universal horror films, they have had a they've always had like, okay, so a little bit how the sausage is made here. When you go to press screenings that are open to the public, they have up the title card for the film on the screen, and they generally have like a QR code for something ridiculous for advertising and hashtags and all that. And Universal has been putting up these ones with sound that have kind of like a little bit of like the music and the atmosphere to kind of get people in the mood while they're coming into the theater. And then they will have like an inexplicable sound that'll startle the audience. So like, perfect example, Knock at the Cabin. They had like moody music, the scariness of it, and then just out of nowhere you just hear like knocking on the screen, just loud knocking, and it jolts the audience. Megan had the same thing. Megan had the doll kind of like stare at the audience and just out of nowhere just say, "Thank you for coming to my movie." And it was, and I'm wondering if I don't think I've heard anyone say this, but I'm wondering if they did something similar for Cocaine Bear. Just out of nowhere, the bear just growls. Shocks the audience. So yeah, Megan it's literally just more blood on the same scenes, no extra footage. Which is about what I thought. And that's the thing, like, the other thing too is I've heard some people say that that they would have loved Megan more if it was more R-rated, and it's like, what more could you have added? The only thing I could imagine you could have added is just more blood. And that would have been it. I like it. It would have been cool to see, sure, but it didn't really hinder the film for me. It's not like I'm looking back at the film and say like, yeah, this is good, but it needs more blood. Because I mean, it was pretty damn violent. It's not like they tried to hide any of the deaths or anything. It's pretty obvious what Megan's doing in that film. So yeah, all I'm saying is, yeah, don't be surprised if like Cocaine Bear gets the same treatment. It's like unrated, and it's just the bear doing more cocaine. That's it. Honestly, like, I don't know how much you could do. Like, this is a film that has like amputations and guts getting torn out and heaps upon heaps of blood. So, so yeah, I don't know. Maybe, you know what I would love them to do? This is going way back here, but I would love them to just make like a quote unquote director's cut where they just intentionally add in new footage that doesn't sync up. Because I'm thinking about, what was that movie called? It's a road trip sex comedy. It's the one with the donut. Sex Drive. That's Sex Drive. It was a terrible film, but they released an unrated version on DVD, which just intentionally threw in more nudity, and it was so blatant that they were just shoving more nudity in here. And it was so great. Like, one of the scenes, like, there's a scene where a character is running naked through a cornfield, and in the PG-13 version you don't see, like, you know, him below the waist, and in the version they put out on video, they do show him below the waist, but it's a black guy with like a very long dick. It's just like yeah, okay, you just intentionally inserted this here just so that it could be more unrated, which I don't know, like Megan and Cocaine Bear seem like the fun type of films where they would do that. So all I'm saying, if they did that, I would watch it. I'm a sucker for that type of film, you know. Oh yeah, great Justin Roiland video. Yeah. I've been planning out a lot of video essays, and like the Justin Roiland one just kind of like just came off like the back of my mind. Like I wasn't even like thinking about like I was just like thinking like, okay, Justin Roiland, you know, he's gonna be off Rick and Morty, but it's like, how much did he really do? And I just looked into that for a little bit and just like did that as like a little video, and I just did that as like a little off the side because I knew that wouldn't take too much time to make. I did not expect it to blow up as much as it did, but then again, like, you know, my Gundam video blew up too, and it's just like, I guess if you tap the right fan base at the right time, that happens, you know. And again, I want to stress, this was not like me like plugging in analytics and seeing what worked. This is just like whatever I felt like making, and you know, whatever was viable for, you know, my time frame. Because there are like, I have completed scripts beyond the Justin Roiland stuff that I wanted to record, but that one took no time at all. So yeah. But yeah, thank you so much, Sucked, for the compliment. It is much appreciated. It's much appreciated. Especially since a lot of like, we've gotten a few subscriptions since I started doing the stream, and pretty much all of them are from the Justin Roiland video. So, which is not, it's not even like a big. There you go. Oh, Organized Chaos. Thanks so much. Organized Chaos does some great videos taking down some of the bad faith YouTube film reviewers. So much appreciated, Organized Chaos. If that is the right one I'm thinking of. Thank you so much. Okay, so where are we at now? Oh, of course, we got to talk about one of the best films of the year. Yes, believe it or not, this is... I know it's early, and I know I said how much I love Cocaine Bear, but trust me, this is for sure. This is like one of those like top 10 for sures at the top of my list for the year. And it's only March. It's only the start of March. So let me get my notes up here so we can talk about this. Okay. So here we go with Skinamarink in 3, 2, 1. So Skinamarink is a micro-budget horror film about a house where things keep disappearing. The doors disappear, the windows disappear, the toilet disappears, and weird stuff starts happening in the house, like toys go on the ceiling, people start disappearing, there's some weird entity throughout the house, and the way that I'm describing this film, like, it makes it sound like it's just going to be like another haunted house type movie. In fact, if you look at the budget, the budget for this film, it's very small. It's about like $15,000, which, if you might recall, that was around the same budget for like Paranormal Activity, which is also a very micro budget film. Big word of mouth, got a lot of people talking about it, and it became a big hit after that. The thing is, like, Paranormal Activity was more interesting, I think, from the fact that they, you know, just the fact that the scares work so well for being so minimal. And Skinamarink is very much a minimal film. I would dare say it's like almost kind of like an avant-garde type film, just for the way that it's framed and the way that it's paced. You know, like, to the point I'd pretty much say like avant-garde might be too much. Maybe, I guess experimental would be the best way to describe it. But the thing is, like, Skinamarink is more than just its frights, and I think it's because this is a film that feels like a real nightmare in the sense that you are completely disoriented the entire time. Because, like, the plot of Skinamarink is kind of all over the place, and that feels very much by design. Like, you know, and I think this is mostly just because of the way the film is shot. Like, the film is shot as just like a series of like pillow shots. Like, if you're familiar with like how like Yasujiro Ozu or Tarkovsky would like shoot his films, where he just like focus on like other stuff in a scene to kind of like you know, to give you a sense of like the environment and also kind of like break up the rest of the film. Skinamarink is a film of like all pillow shots. You get shots of the carpet. You know, you're looking down the hall. You never get like a perfect shot of like the characters here. Like you always see like the characters' feet, or you hear them off to the side, or you're behind them. You see their backs. You never quite see them. And so apparently the premise of the film is that it takes place in the 1990s, where two children, have just, one of the children has just endured a problem where they were sleepwalking, and they woke up and they hurt themselves. And they had to go to the hospital, and they came back and they were apparently fine. So after that, the two kids basically, they get up, they watch cartoons, they play with toys, and and we don't really, like I said, we really don't see much of them. We mostly just see their feet, or we see like their toys moving. We see the television on. We hear them talking about like, I think I heard mom and dad upstairs, or, hey, can you go get something from the kitchen? Just little nothing bits of dialogue here. And just the way that it's framed is just, it's pretty frightening. And I think it's just because of the absence of fully grasping what is going on within this house is the scariest part. And also because like it's weird how this film kind of like taps into this very cerebral aspect of like, experiencing a nightmare for yourself. And I feel like the best way to talk about this, because you're going to hear a lot of people talking about how horrifying this film was, how deeply, deeply scary it was. And I feel like I need to stress that when I say this film is scary, I don't mean it's scary in the sense like, like a slasher film where it's like someone with a knife is going to be behind the next door, or like a supernatural type terror where there's a ghost bumping things. Like there's definitely a like spiritual force here that's like manipulating the house. Like that's for sure. But you never learn much about it. You never quite see it. You hear it. You understand a little bit of what it's doing, but there's also just like this complete randomness to it. And the film it jumps all over the place in time and where characters are and how characters interact. Like we follow like the two kids, I think their names are Kevin and Kaylee. We learn like not that much about them. We know that they're kids. We know that they watch cartoons. We know that they play with toys. And we know that one of them has a problem with, sleepwalking. And I feel like in order to talk about how this film scares you, you kind of have to leave a part of yourself in how you talk about it being scary. Like if I were to like talk about other horror films such as It, I could tell you like a scary moment, like where the clown comes through the film projector. Big scary clown, its teeth, its claws, it's coming to kill the kids. Scary, ooh. If I were talking about stuff like, Annabelle, the doll's in the room and the doll kind of moves. Talk about Poltergeist, the creepy clown, all these little elements. To talk about what scares me with Skinamarink is to tap into something like deeply frightening about yourself and your own nightmares. Like full disclosure, I have had night terrors, and I feel like for anyone who has had night terrors or is kind of like terrified of, having problems trying to sleep and terrified of going to sleep, this is very much going to frighten you on that level. And I think what adds to it is just so much of the focus is on like the carpet. And I love the way that it's framed, because they want to frame that like the carpet is just littered with toys, and then next thing you know, the toys are on the wall, then they're on the ceiling, and everything is just cluttered. But the way that everything is filmed in this movie is that it's all grainy. It's meant to be just so grainy that it looks old, and you can't really tell what is, like you can't quite make it out. It feels like it has like that feeling of like dreams that are like, you have a vision in your mind, but like it's not quite present, and it feels like there's something clouding it, and that you're, like it feels real, but it's not quite real. It's like it's so hard to describe. It's one of those things that like you almost have to just like to see to understand what it's tapping into and what makes it so frightening. Because one of the things that used to scare me about like, you know, trying to go to sleep was that I would always keep staring at the carpet. And I would always imagine that like the carpet was moving. That like, you know, if I wasn't watching it, like something in it might be moving, that there might be some presence there, that, you know, just that there's something there. And so much of the shots that focus on the carpet with like the graininess makes you feel like there's something there. And it was just so disorienting and chilling that I could not look away from this film. It's like, and it was terrifying. It's like, I made the mistake of watching this late at night, and I knew that like immediately after this, I had to like throw on something like a little bit more fun, like the Venture Brothers, or watch some like Freakazoid, because I knew that if I went to sleep directly after watching this film, I'm not going to bed. I'm not going to make it through the night. Like, I know, like, that's kind of like the golden rule, like, you never watch a horror film right before you're about to go to sleep. But Skinamarink, I really need to stress that here. Because even if, like, nothing in Skinamarink scares you, chances are it's probably going to creep into your memory later. Mostly just because, like, the horror is really understated here. Like, there is some violence, there is some bloodshed, there is some implication about characters losing mouths and characters stabbing themselves in the eye. But you never quite see it all. It's always kept off to the side, and you never quite see it. And that's the best way I can describe it, kind of like akin to a nightmare, where it's, you know, it's a dream where you don't feel like you have full control of, and yet at the same time, you don't feel like you're seeing everything, and you wish you could, but like you can't. And that's especially true when you get to the end of the film, in which, you know, in which Kevin actually does see a face of the actual entity controlling the house and making everything disappear. And the footage is so grainy that you cannot tell, you know, what this entity looks like. And Kevin tries to ask, like, you know, who are you? Why are you doing this? And there's no answer. Just nothing. You get no answers to any of this, to why this is happening. And it feels just like nightmares. Like, just it's terrible things happening, and you can't find any rhyme or reason for it, and you feel like it's out of your control. And it's especially true, like, how the film frames the kind of the passage of time. Like, it always feels like it's dark out, and that could be just because, you know, all the windows and doors disappeared, but they also like showcase that like 500 days pass at one point, and there's no change in how like Kevin is as a child. Like, he's still kind of just present and trying to figure out the house, and it's like, oh wait, why are the doors upside down, and where's the toilet, and what happened to Kaylee, and didn't I stab myself? Wasn't there blood on the carpet, and didn't it keep happening over and over and over again? And all these bizarre and surreal moments that just creep into your mind, and it's just fascinatingly scary. And the fact that the film could do this on such a small budget, it is by far one of the scariest films I've seen in years. Like, there's horror films I love, but this is one of those films that's like, I don't think I could go back and watch this. I feel like on a second watch, I might be able to better process that. But after that first viewing, I was so chilled by this. I was terrified to go to sleep that night. Now I do have preferences though. This film is slow moving. Like, it's under 2 hours, but it slowly like goes along with, like, you know, like this creeping fear of having lost control and being trapped within a nightmare that you're not quite sure where any of this is going. And if you don't like those types of like slow burn horror films, this is not going to be for you, because I know with all like the word of mouth that's probably going to happen with Skinamarink, you're going to get a lot of people recommending it, and you're going to get those people who just go to, you know, like haunted house movies and like, you know, the Conjuring type films, and they're going to be like, I don't know what everyone's talking about. Why is this scary? It's just a house, and just, you know, the toys go up in the ceiling, and, you know, we don't see the kids. I don't know. It's like it's trying to be artsy fartsy, whatever. But So for the people who want everything spelled out for them in a film, this is not for you. This is definitely not your type of horror film. But if you love a horror movie that can place you in the mindset of a nightmare where you've lost all control and you don't quite know what's happening, and there's some great scares in this too, not just from like the blood and like the, you know, seeing stuff disappear, which is scary enough in itself. Like being trapped in a house where like the door's gone is frightening in and of itself. But there's also just like kind of jump scare moments. Like the audio is so off here. Like sometimes the kids will speak loudly enough where you can clearly understand them, and it dominates the room. And other times there's scenes where the dialogue is so low that they have to put in like subtitles to let you know what everyone is saying. And then other times, just like probably the scariest moment in the film, which I'll warn people about, is at one point Kevin tries to call the police, but the phone transforms into one of those like toy phones with the face. And at one point, just inexplicably, the phone's eyes will just move in like a jump shot and then ring and have like I believe like the smile gets bigger too. And then the lights will go out and all you can see is the eyes of the phone. So just all those moments of like, all those like kind of like jump scary moments, I feel like are great. Like a lot of people are going to say, I don't like jump scares. The thing is, I don't mind jump scares if there's something legitimately terrifying about them. And there is in Skinamarink. Every jump scare feels like there is something terrifying going on and that you don't have any control of what's going on in this house. So on that level, on this very surreal and cerebral level, I absolutely love Skinamarink, and it's one of the scariest horror films that I've seen in a long, long time. It's not going to be everyone's type of scary movie. I need to preference that. I like if you could not get through like, you know, stuff like Stalker, let's say, that are like slow burn films, especially like, you know, a lot of people are probably just going to see like, oh, it's under 2 hours. Trust me, this is a slow burn horror film that you really need to be in the right mood for. And if you're in that mindset where, you know, nightmares and, you know, the thought of like going to sleep and like having no control over your own house is terrifying to you, then this is definitely one of the scariest films that I've ever seen on such a small budget. And all the credit needs to be given here to Kyle Edward Ball, who turns in one of the scariest films of this year. And I know it's early, but trust me, it's the scariest. Skinamarink definitely reminded me of dreams I had as a child thinking about my dad being asleep with the TV on at night. Oh, for sure. Yeah, the thing is, it taps so well into childhood. And, one of the things I forgot to mention in the review is that the director actually filmed this movie at his childhood home. So there's definitely some, you could tell he's definitely drawing from like his own like nostalgia and his own fears from like childhood in there. And it works so well. It's just, you know, if anyone wants to go back and feel like when you were scared as a kid, like, like I almost want to kind of recommend the film on kind of like a nostalgic level. It's like, hey, remember when you were a kid and just like the carpet and the television scared you, and the fact that like your parents were always behind the bedroom door and they didn't talk to you as much. Like, remember that scariness? Well, it's here in Skinamarink. So Skinamarink is playing exclusively on Shudder right now. I believe it was in theaters for a very short time. Which kind of sucks, because I hope it has like a re-release soon, just because like I knew a few people who were going to see this film, and they found it really hard to get tickets for it, which I found surprising. Like I would think that like, you know, like a film through like Shudder would want to get a little bit more of a wider release, but yeah, I don't know, maybe they're just hedging their bets on this, but it turned out pretty well. I mean, you know, a $15,000 budget, and it makes $2 million at its box office. That's a huge win. That's a major success. And I hope that, like, the thing is, like, I feel like I'm kind of doing my part here by talking about it, because, like, Skinamarink doesn't have, it definitely doesn't have, like, the same marketing spread as, like, the other horror films this year, like Cocaine Bear or Megan. So it's mostly been word of mouth. It's been to a few festivals. People have been talking about it. The director has, a little bit of a history online with making creepy videos. So there's some notoriety there, but mostly this film is going to succeed through word of mouth. And that's why these words are coming out of my mouth, because I want more people to see this very frightening film. And I'm probably going to put it on my top of the year list. At least for right now. Like, it'll depend how the rest of the year shapes up with horror, because we got a lot of horror movies coming this year. We got Renfield. We've got, like, another Dracula movie coming out. We've got an Evil Dead remake. We've got, oh, God. We've got a lot of cool stuff coming out this year. So it's much like last year, it's going to be a great year for horror. Also, isn't Maxine coming out this year? The sequel to Pearl and the sequel to Pearl and X, more or less. When is it coming out? It's gotta be this year, right? It's gotta be. Like, I know we don't have a full trailer yet, but come on. I'm just gonna look that up quick here. Okay, I'm not seeing anything yet. I'm just gonna freaking load up the trailer and see. No, nothing yet. Okay. Hopefully we get Maxine this year. I would love to see that trilogy close out this year. But yeah, Skinamarink is currently playing on Shudder. I think its theatrical window's pretty much passed, even though it was a very tiny, tiny one. So, but yeah, go check it out on Shudder. Shudder's got a lot of cool stuff. I'm currently watching. Shudder has this great, like, mega documentary on the history of horror movies. I think it's called, like, hang on, I gotta look this up because I want to recommend it. It's called, like, Something in Darkness, and it's this long kind of, like, mega doc series. And I'm watching the third entry right now, which is all about, like, the 1980s and video nasties. So I'm like, that's my jam. That's what I want. So let's see, it's In Search of Darkness. So yeah, part 3 is what I'm watching right now, which is on, like, video nasties in the 1980s and talks about video stores. So that's obviously my jam. And it's also great, like, if you want something to just leave on in the background, because it runs about 5 hours and 42 minutes long. So like I said, it's a mega doc. Let's see. Yeah, I'm loving this trend of super low budget films like Terrifier 2 doing well. P.S. Have you seen The Outwaters? It follows Skinamarink in utilizing a location in a smart way to convey this. The name sounds familiar. Let me double check on that. The Outwaters. Oh. Okay, it's a found footage horror film in the Mojave Desert. Yeah, about the same budget too. Well, I'm looking it up here. It's like, it's an estimated budget. I'm pretty sure it's like, who knows? It might be lower than that or a little bit higher than that, but I'm pretty sure they're just like, what's budget? 15,000. Why not? Because hey, if the film ends up being hit, they can just say, hey, we're the next Paranormal Activity. $1,500 budget. Sorry, not 1,500. 15,000. Sorry. $1,500 budget. Now we're talking success. But that's too cheap. I think, what was it, like, Roger Ebert said, like, if you want to make your own film, all it's going to cost you is $2,000. Like $1,000 to buy a camera and $1,000 to buy a computer. Although with today's price, you might want to bump that up to like $4,000. Just because if you want a good camera and you want a good computer to edit on. But yeah, it's great to see these. And I know that, like, Shudder is kind of suffering a little bit right now through like financial worries, but I hope they keep it up because Shudder has so much good stuff on there right now. Like I said, I'm slowly making my way through like their documentaries. Their documentaries are just beautiful. I've loved going through all of them so far. And yeah, also little small horror films. Like I was watching one a few weeks ago called Sissy, which was a decent film about finding the horror within like, online influencers. It's not great, but I feel like by the third act it really found its footing and it really won me over. So yeah. In addition to all the other stuff, like I initially, finally bit the bullet on getting Shudder so that I could watch Mad God, which Mad God was so much fun. It's a bizarre. It felt like watching an extended Tool music video. Mad God, of course, the Phil Tippett film. I do need to watch Possessor though. Everyone is telling me I gotta watch Possessor because it came on there. But yeah, I've been checking out a lot on there. But yeah, there's just so much to keep up on. I'm trying to like keep up with the stuff on Mubi. Like today, I watched their latest entry of was it Glass Life? Is okay avant-garde film, and then of course Criterion Collection always has some fun stuff on there. Like they have a whole bunch of Michelle Yeoh films on there right now, which is perfect timing for Oscar season. Yeah. And I don't know, like it'd be cool if, in terms of like Academy Awards, I don't know if Michelle Yeoh is gonna win for best actress. I think it's pretty much in the bag for Cate Blanchett. But at this point, I think Everything Everywhere All at Once is going to win for Best Picture. I don't think it's going to surprise anybody at this point if that's the big winner here, because all signs are pointing to that being the best film to win for Best Picture. So it's like I'm almost convinced it's going to be a lock. The only for sure locks of the Academy Awards right now is Avatar 2 is going to win for Best Special Effects, obviously. And Natu Natu is going to win for Best Song. There's no way that Natu Natu is going to lose. It's nobody can watch that film and that dance sequence and say, that's the song of the year right there. Nobody can. So yeah. Oh boy. Whoa. Not expect the audio to be that loud. Okay. So, quick recap of everything we reviewed on today's stream. Let's see, what did we review today? We reviewed Creed 3. It's in theaters this weekend. It is a much better film than Creed 2, mostly because it doesn't rely on the Rocky legacy for it to stand on its own. And plus, Jonathan Majors is such an intimidating character. If you loved him in Ant-Man but felt like they didn't use him enough, they use him plenty in Creed 3, and you get to see this actor at his best. I reviewed Cocaine Bear. It's currently playing in theaters, and it's about as much fun as I expected. It's a fun midnight movie to watch, and a decent theme of family, which you might not expect out of a film like Cocaine Bear. And finally, Skinamarink, one of the best horror films of the year, deeply frightening, nightmarish film about a house where everything disappears. So there you go. Lots of good stuff. So yeah, oh wait, I need to get up the credits here. So, if you want to read more of my reviews, you can find them at movieswithmark.com. You can also catch more of my Rotten Tomatoes, what's the term I'm looking for? The reviews that get picked up by Rotten Tomatoes will be on filminquiry.com. And of course, you can check more of my stuff out over on TwinCitiesGeek.com, including my interview with Phil Lamar. And yes, if you don't know, I have a Patreon, which I probably should have had the link to, and I should probably put that right there. But you can subscribe there to check out exclusive videos that I have through there, as well as scrapped video essays and the latest chapters of the movie history books I'm writing. I'm writing a book right now on Saturday Morning Cartoons, and you can read it exclusively through there. And also get free copies when they come out. So yeah, that's everything we got. We'll be back in, let's see, when will we be next? I try to do these bi-weekly. So I will probably be back on, the 5th. I'll definitely be back on the 15th, because I think by then the embargo will have passed for John Wick 4, which I'm looking forward to, because It's John Wick. It's beautiful fight scenes, and I'm sure this one's going to be no exception. And then, of course, I will try to... I'm not sure if I'll be able to make the screening. I'm trying to confirm it, but I will try to see if I can see Scream 6. Just to keep up with the latest in horror movies. There's, like I said, so many good horror movies are going to be coming out this year. So yeah, be back in 2 weeks with reviews of John Wick Chapter 4 and Scream 6. Not even some funny title. It's just Scream 6. They've given up the naming convention. Or the weird, like, you know, not addressing the numerical order. Ghostface goes to New York, yeah. I was gonna say Manhattan, but oh my goodness. Alright, so yeah, I will be back in 2 weeks, so yeah, feel free to subscribe. I've got more video essays coming. There's other scripts that I'm working on that are getting close to being ready. You can watch more of the video reviews that I did here. I will edit those out and get those out within the week. And yeah, so thanks for watching, everybody, and I will catch you next time. Have a good one, everybody.